If when you're pumping you look a bit like this, or maybe even like this, or maybe something like this, and you cannot really trust the foil. You feel like you press, but there is nothing there. You press and it feels like you press on nothing. You press and you're just slowing down, losing height, and as a result, you pump maybe for 30 seconds, maybe even 40, but you are gassed out and you cannot go past that wall. Well, if that's you, this is the video for you, because I'm gonna explain pump foiling and the pumping movement and the pumping technique in a way that, at least personally, I've never heard anywhere. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cadence. 90% of the times when I see beginner pump foilers or even intermediate pump foilers pumping, they are rushing it. They are pressing when the board is still pointing up. This means that you are slowing the foil down. Instead, what you should try and do is to reduce the cadence and lengthen the upper phase. So relieve your weight off the board, hope for a longer period of time. What this is gonna do is it's gonna allow the board more time to rise, and you're gonna transfer your weight in front and pitch the board down for the descending phase in the right moment. So when the board is in the best position to gain speed. Because at the end of the day, pumping is not about pressing, it's just about relieving your weight off the board at the right moment and re-adding your weight at the right moment. And what is this right moment? So the first thing that you should do when you get on the board after your dog start, which I'm going to show you in a second, is to relieve your weight. I know it's counterintuitive, but you already added weight, you already gained speed, hopefully, during the dog start, which means that you don't have to press more because you pressed already subconsciously during the dog start. So after the dog start, the first thing you have to do is not to press, is to hop, is to relieve your weight off the board. And even if you're using the foil drive, the principle is the same. And the techniques that I'm going to show you to improve your pump technique are the same. So you get on the board and you relieve your weight, but you not only relieve your weight, because if you just relieve your weight, yes, you're going to pitch the board up, but you're not going to then set the board and the foil in a position, in the right position, to be able to then smoothen the upper phase of the movement and then gain speed during the descending phase. Because it's not just about gaining height, it's also about gaining speed. Because you probably now are gaining height, but you're not gaining speed, and that's why you stall, that's why it's exhausting. But before I continue with the explanation, I just want you to know that I'm organizing a camp, a workshop, you name it, in Rome from the 6th until the 9th of June, so 4-day, super intense, dedicated to dog starting and pump foiling. So if you're a beginner and you want to kickstart your pump foiling journey, or you're stuck at 20, 30, 40 seconds and you want to go past that wall, then that's probably the best opportunity for you to give a boost to your journey or kickstart your journey. All right, so if you're into it, if you're interested, I'm gonna leave in the description of this video the link to my Instagram account and my email. You can reach out to me there wherever you want, and we can get in touch and I can explain you a bit how it works. All right. The second mistake, which is absolutely linked to the first one, is being glued to the board, not extending your legs fully. 90% again of pump foilers, you see them, they are kind of not that comfortable on the board, so they seem like they are glued on the board. They extend, but maybe they don't extend their knees fully, and for sure they don't relieve their weight enough. And what this does, it doesn't allow the board to come up fully. And I said that it's linked to the first mistake, which is reducing the cadence, because if you extend your leg fully, you relieve your weight for a longer period of time again, and you allow the board more time to rise underneath your feet. So with the same pump, you're gonna gain more height. So it's more efficient, right? And bear with me because I'm gonna show you everything in a second, okay? Let me just do an explanation and then we're gonna get into the actual step by step, right? Because I can't do two things at the same time. Bear with me. So, besides that, what do I mean by extending your legs fully? So again, you should imagine that you want to reach a branch that is 1 meter above your head, but also 1 meter in front of your head. Because again, you cannot just hop statically. You gotta hop in front. Otherwise, you cannot shift your weight towards the nose of the board to pitch the board down for the descending phase. And when it comes to extending your legs fully and relieving your weight off the board for a longer period of time, you will see experienced pump foilers lifting that back heel. And they do that not because it looks cool, but yeah, it is kind of cool, but because they are extending their legs so much that they have to detach sometimes the entire weight from the pad, or at least detach the back heel from the pad to extend their leg even more. Because think about it, you're extending your legs, fully, you're removing your weight off the board, but the board at that point is also pointing up, which means that if you are perpendicular to the water and not perpendicular to the pad, you're gonna have your feet in 2 different levels, and that is why you have to be kind of like this. Again, imagine I'm on a hill, on a climb, and if my front leg is extended, then I have to lift my back heel to be perpendicular to the water. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now we can finally get into it. One last thing is about your arms, because another common mistake is to use your arms. And sometimes they say, yeah, I'm using my arms because it gives me stability, which is true. But if you use your arms, it's way harder to actually stay focused on your legs, because you should pump with your legs and then add the arm swing later, just to get those 10-12% the more efficiency that you get if you use the proper arm swing. For now, keep your elbows close to your trunk and only give this shrug. You know that exercise that people are doing in the gym? They like shoulder shrug, okay? Imagine doing that. You have to give this shrug so that you help you relieve your weight off the board and extend your leg fully. All right, so after a little warm-up, step on the board. A little bit. Okay, you saw that I was in a very, very bad situation, and instead of pressing, I just smashed harder with my back leg to really relieve my weight off the board and let it rise to recover it. Now you're probably seeing now that I'm extending my legs fully. I'm extending my knees fully so that I can really relieve my weight off the board. And my back heel is lifting because I'm throwing my weight in front. Another thing I didn't mention is that you also have to be loose with your legs after you hop to allow the board to rise. Otherwise, it's the same shit, right? Another mistake that I see beginners and intermediates making is this one. So there is a delay between back leg and front leg, like this, and that's not gonna work. You have to apply even pressure with both legs. You have to land from this hop. You see how long is the hop? And then you land on the hop when the board is hard. You're gonna feel that the board is hard. And this smoothens the transition phase. And the thing is that the more speed you have, the more pumping is gonna look like pressing and less relieving. Because by pressing at the right time, the board is hard and you can gain speed, and you just have to keep that speed. Now you might ask, okay, Gael, that's cool, but these are all just words. How do I actually put this into practice? How do I learn to find the hard spots on the board when pressing feels like pressing on concrete and not pressing on a pillow? Let me show you, because there is a very simple exercise that you should practice, and you can practice it both if you're dog starting and with the foil drive. So if you're using a foil drive, wait a sec. If you're using a foil drive, seaweed. Okay, if you're seaweed, it's full of seaweed. So if you're learning how to pump with a foil drive, then in that case, you wanna put the motor all the way up so that you can pump and glide. You wanna lose speed, but not height, because the best way to find that hard spot and to learn to relieve your weight off the board instead of pressing is by working on your low end. So height, speed, glide, and work on your low end. Because on the low end, you cannot press. You have to really relieve your weight off the board. That's the only way to move forward. So and work on the low end, work on the low end, work on the low end. You see how I decrease the cadence and smash on my back foot when I don't have speed to gain that speed. That's what you have to practice if you want to become efficient. So remember, reduce the cadence, less pumps in the same duration, and relieve your weight off the board for longer. I know it's not that intuitive because your brain doesn't want to hop high and forward because there is nothing there. You're literally jumping on the void. You gotta trust the foil. You gotta trust the fact that the foil is gonna be there to catch you after you hop high, forward. All right? So again, cadence, keep your arms close to your trunk, only give this little shrug to help you relieve your weight off the board. Work on your low end by pumping and gliding. You wanna lose speed, but when you glide, you don't wanna lose height, because then you can use that height to gain back that speed. But if you lose both height and speed, you're in a pretty bad situation, right? But by working on your low end, you're gonna understand how to relieve your weight for long, how to smash on that back foot, how to understand when to smash on that back foot, understand when to reapply your weight on the board to make it gain speed. Because if you don't have speed and you're not efficient and you apply your weight in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're gonna stall. And that's what's gonna happen at the beginning, but that's how you learn. So it's not gonna be fun at the beginning, you're gonna fly off and then fall and stall all the time. But if you do it over and over and over, you're gonna really get that feeling of gaining speed, pressing when it's hard, and relieving your weight for long enough to let the board rise underneath your feet. I hope that this video helps. Once again, I can explain it with my words, but nothing is comparable to having someone explaining these things one-on-one and coaching you while you are pumping on the water, because like it's a live direct feedback. So again, if you want to join my workshop in Rome from the 6th until the 9th of June 2025, the link to my Instagram account and my email are in the description. Feel free to reach out. And otherwise, all good. Subscribe and see you next time.